Hi guys, Luton here, and we're back on Caspian Border Battlefield 3. We're playing Conquest, and I'm joined by three other producers today. I've got In The Works Media, Scanner Barkley, and also Billy the Kid. And we were working together as a four-man team to try and take this round down. Now, I was live streaming at the time. We were just looking for some Battlefield 3 gameplay to get stuck in with, and we really didn't anticipate the kind of ground-pounding round that this was going to become. Not to mention the fact that it had a several thousand ticket count, and they'd even adjusted the settings to ensure that it was a slow burn. All things that we weren't totally aware of on entering the round, but we decided to play it through to its completion. Now, the other problem was that as we enter the round, we're actually about 500 tickets down, and not to mention the fact that the enemy team has got full air superiority. As you can see in the background here, that helicopter just literally spamming the ground. Some of our players were trying to put some fight back in, but it was very, very difficult. And then, as you'll see at the beginning here, you combine in the other factor, which is that our armour at the beginning of this round simply refused to move forward. I don't know what their plan was really, but they had sort of secured the tanks and were not really being very aggressive with them. They were kind of sitting back and picking up kills, and in fact you'll actually see on our scoreboards there's a couple of guys there, and they're really sort of whoring kills basically. They've got a massive high ticket count of kills. There's one guy who had a ridiculous KD and yet had done nothing in terms of, I don't think we saw him the entire round. God knows where he was. It could be that AA tank, it could be one of the MBTs. But regardless of that, we decided to get in and get the round going on, and that was what was really exciting about this. And as I say, I will have the full live com version available. It's an hour long. I know some of you guys like my long videos, so that's going to be there for you should you want it. And look at this, already we were trying to make a flank. Our first move in this is always a good thing to do when you're in these kind of out-based conquest modes, is to make a big push, get down there, get stuck in, you know, throw them off balance, off guard, try and show them that, you know, things are changing up a bit so that they don't have that same kind of like spawn camping mentality. It's going to put the enemy on the back foot, as I say. It's going to make them think, hey, we need to kind of cover other areas around, and then hopefully that's going to give your team a little bit of an advantage. Now, a couple of guys had already moved down on here. We capped this position. Our next move is obviously going to be to D, so off we go, heading up onto D here. And the thing was in this round was that our team, I don't think the majority of our team were really not trying. It was more the fact that our armour, and you know, this is something that I've said so many times in Battlefield. You guys have heard me say this a million times before. That obviously, you know, armour, it's a game with vehicles. The vehicles are extremely important. You cannot ignore the vehicles. You simply cannot ignore the vehicles. If you ignore tanks and vehicles, they will destroy you. They will sit around and they will destroy you at range or close range. It doesn't matter. But whatever's going to happen, they're going to wipe you out. It doesn't take very much for infantry to actually take down the vehicles. It just requires a little bit of concentration, a little bit of concentration of fire, you know. And that's the thing, is like when you have sort of one or two people like this, look right here, we're just getting outmatched, outgunned. You just take one hit, you're down. But you get 3 or 4 people around that vehicle all firing at once, it's going to go down in seconds, and that's really what you need. Now, as I say, this is all cut together, guys, so this is just going to be a kind of almost montage as such, but you'll see it's quite long because of the whole length of the round. I've tried to illustrate key points here. And so here we're kind of defending. They're trying to be aggressive. They're moving up with this AA tank. AA tank is obviously really important to try and keep down, because if we keep that AA tank down, it means our air superiority has a better chance of actually being able to make some impact onto the game. You can see them flying around here. But it's got to be said, overall, we really didn't feel particularly like we had any air support at any point in time. I think that goes much towards the fact that jets often tend to circle, and they don't really get involved in the game. The helicopters, on the other hand, was, you know, the enemy helicopter was causing a continual problem for us, and you'll see that highlighted a little bit further along the way as well. So here we are back at B again, and you can see, if you look at the map right now, you look at the progress on the left there, that we're still absolutely screwed into the ground here. We only have E. We're having a real difficult time to cap any bases. We're trying our best to kind of flank down and get in on here, but it's proving extremely difficult. Back up at E here, we spawn back because it was the only place we could come in at, and it's all kicking off. You can see that they're even pushing up here to E. We're taking fire in this area, so we're really feeling spawn camped. And at this point, again, we're still about 500 tickets down, roughly, give or take, and we really didn't feel like we were going to have any chance in this round. I mean, we had such a massive ticket count to go. We were like, we're going to play this round out, we're going to play it through. But you can see just from everything that's happening, we're not on top of the situation here. Things are going really bad for us. It's very difficult to keep things under control. I got an amazing little shot here, look, straight through the middle of that shack and got it on target. but we're trying our very best to kind of get back on top of things. We're trying to sort of ebb and flow and just take it as it comes. But again, look at this, we're just getting pinned down left and right. It's very difficult for us to kind of make any kind of significant progress, because as soon as we start to make a move forward, we get pushed back from a different direction. And again, part of that is to do, I think, with our armor. Part of it, perhaps our team had been taking a beating from the beginning, so maybe they didn't feel like they could make enough of a move. You can see them all, majority over there on that right hand side over between E and C. That can often happen, and I don't think that's often necessarily a detriment to your team. You know, sometimes when you're in a game, it's very frustrating, you know, and you sort of say, oh god damn the team, why don't they come in here, why don't they get on board? And you know, sometimes that's true. I mean, I remember last night we were playing, and the guys who are watching my stream will definitely vouch for the fact that I was playing on some rounds and we were working hard and capping on bases. I've actually got a round coming up for you that I will show you when I was playing on Altai, and working hard, trying to get on those bases, and sometimes your team, they're just not up for the objective, you know, they're just not interested. But I think on this round, our team, I think they were interested in the objective. I think they did want to win. They were working for the win. It's just, I mean, you can see over here on the hillside the amount of blue. That kind of highlights to you what I'm talking about. Look how many white, you know, blue Doritos even sort of sticking on this side here. It kind of highlights what I'm saying. Massive explosion. But yeah, so I do think that they wanted to get involved in the game. It's just that they've been kind of pinned down and maybe didn't know how to move out of it. So you can see right here, I started actually moving towards A already. I didn't realise, if you look at the map down the left again, you can see we actually have managed to, at this point, cap up a lot of bases. That's literally just been a case of the fact that everybody started pushing and getting involved in the game. And I think, as I've said before so many times, it really doesn't take very much for a team to turn things around or get involved, provided they have sort of, you know, medium skill level, even if they're against a team that's a little bit better. The tactics, and I've said this so many times as well, yeah, I couldn't get forward here. I was trying my very best. I was like isolated and out in the open. There's nothing much more I could do there. But yeah, I've said this so many times before that tactics do play a really big role in the game, and we're not even talking about complicated stuff here. Really what we're talking about is the bare basics of the game, okay? So it's literally just looking at where your enemy's weak, move there, cap, fast as well. You know, move fast. You know, people are so terrible about moving quickly. I remember, again, I always reference it. You guys know I always reference it because I've played it a huge amount of my gaming career, and a huge amount of PvP of my gaming career was in World of Warcraft. World of Warcraft, there's a game mode, Arathi Basin. It's essentially Conquest. It's a domination style game mode, and you have 15 players v 15. You've got to move real fast and really be able to anticipate and predict where your enemy's going to go in order to win that game mode. And that was something that we were extremely specialist at. We were able to predict and move so fast that the enemy could never get a foothold. You just look at where they're going to go to, you look at where the gap in the line is, and you move there. That's how you can outplay your opponent. You look at the kind of the playing field, you look at the table, and you look at, you know, okay, they're here, here's the enemy force, where do we need to go to? How can we outplay this situation? And it's not always about getting the kills. It's just about understanding the battlefield and understanding where to move to. Now, the problem comes that in a public game, that's extremely difficult because a lot of players maybe are not thinking in that, you know, realm whatsoever. Maybe they had their own agenda. You just don't know. So therefore, it makes it extremely hard to kind of apply any of that in a public game. However, if you have a squad of 4 or 5 guys and you're sort of trying to make those moves and you're trying to be proactive, which is what we were doing as a 4-man squad, okay, ever so slightly it can start to have an impact. People say they start to see players, they don't even know who you are, but they start to see players moving and attacking certain locations, and then they see other players moving to those places and they think, hey, yeah, maybe we should go for that. Oh my god, I was so lucky not to die right at that point. They see you moving in that direction, they see you engaging certain targets, and they think, hey, yeah, okay. So that's how it can come down. It's like this kind of physical learning curve where people actually will follow. And, you know, it works negatively as well. I mean, how many times have you seen a bunch of guys all running to the same doorway, all running down the same choke point, and you think, what the hell are you doing? Like lemmings to the slaughter. There's 4 or 5 guys trying to get through a doorway that a guy 200 yards away, bipod LMG, is just cutting them to pieces. And that's the way it goes. But it goes in a positive way as well. I say, if you can make a positive impact, then people will learn from that. They will see what's happening. You hope they will anyway. But from my experience, that does actually happen. And that's exactly what happened in this round. The other thing was the armor. And the armor was a real problem. And as I say, I think our team maybe, you know, you can be in a lot of games and sometimes people just, they don't have that click in their head. They're like, I'm playing Assault, I'm playing Recon, and they just refuse to change up their class. Now, you know, I'm not going to get into how annoying that is. We all know how irritating that is, okay? And I've said so many times that the key to success is flexibility, the ability to kind of look at a situation and go, hey, yeah, you know, I know what needs to be done here, I'm going to change up my class. Now, we were all running Engineer because we sort of wanted, well, we were pretty much all running Engineer. We knew that we had to take control and deal with this armor. God knows our tanks weren't going to do that because they were sitting so far back. So at this point in the game, you can actually see the ticket count has, reduced significantly. We've actually ended up in a 5-base control situation right here, and this has been in part to the aggression that we've been pushing forward and the way in which we've been dealing vehicles. Now, the other point as well, look, see, I'm coming back here, we're down at B. You got to keep doing like little patrols now and again. You got to keep moving around, and we saw a couple of little flashes over towards D. So I just pulled back here to get back, make sure this area is under control, make sure it's nice and safe. Because the last thing you want is one player to cap a base, for all the players to cap that base, start respawning, start moving it into your area. But at the same time, as you'll see as well, you can't afford to necessarily vacate your entire area. Okay, I came back to D because it's right next to B. We're holding this front line here. We're dealing with all the armor that's coming in on us. I can't be affording to go anywhere else, and we'll see that in a moment. But me and Billy started running the Javelin team here, and this was kind of funny. The Javelin team, a lot of people always say don't use Javelins, they're pointless. Well, here's the thing. Since people started using a lot of smoke, Javelins stopped being used. But then that turns around because suddenly everybody stops using smoke because of the fact that nobody's really using javelins anymore. And we got a ridiculous amount of kills with javelins. We literally annihilated their whole team. It got so bad that they actually started targeting our SOFLAMs, and you'll see at one point in a minute as well, we even get like a jet so frustrated with us. There was obviously some guy we wiped out who picked up a jet, and he literally tried to just kamikaze us because he was so frustrated with us. And we got a nice little team here, we got a perfect little defensive line. Again, remember, something that I've said so many times about defending in Rush or Conquest is the Golden Circle. The Golden Circle, I know people keep wanting me to make a video about. I'm actually going to do that. I don't know why it's so difficult for me to make this video. It's so simplistic. But basically, the Golden Circle principle is just that you need to stay within a secure area around an objective. So if you look behind me, see the kind of distance we roughly are from the objective here? That's kind of like the max distance I really want to be from this objective. If we push up any further than this, we're going to be isolated, cut off from our nice defensive area. It's going to become dangerous for us. We don't really need to go any further forward than this at all. We can just stay here, we can just keep everything nicely under control, and that's what we've been doing. And you can see here that I'm just literally locking targets. It doesn't even have to necessarily have a SOFLAM target, and look, you can just pick them off. And we were just doing this constantly, just picking up so many kills with the SOFLAM. Another one away. I cut some of these kills together because there was so many. I was just like kill, 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 and it was really, really satisfying to get so many kills with these javelins. But as I say, the enemy team finally clocked us, and they really started to deal with it. But the main point here is, as I say, identifying targets and really dealing with them. One of the main targets we were trying to deal with is this helicopter here. The helicopter, he's sitting at high altitude at a far, far range, basically. He's way out of locking range. And this was actually the primary reason why me and Billy decided to run the SOFLAM. We were hoping that he was going to kind of come near, we were able to get one missile away and maybe take him out. But he was determined, look at this, he's just staying pretty much at max range and just using TVs and the extended scope for the helicopter there to engage targets at maximum range, and it's a very, very frustrating way to play. Many people remember on some of the Armored Kill maps as well, people playing in that style, even some of the Aftermath maps as well, and it is extremely irritating, but it's just, it's just the way it goes, and some people like to play in that way. It's just, unfortunately, so I should say it wasn't Aftermath, it was Endgame, some of the Endgame maps people used to play with the Viper in that style, thinking about Kisar Railroad and stuff like that. That's what I was thinking of. However, nonetheless, we actually evened the playing field at this point, and we were getting quite excited here because it was really starting to get annoying. You might notice some of the chat as well that the other team were getting a little bit abusive. They were quite frustrated because obviously they started calling us like spawn campers and all this, and it's like, well, I'm really sorry, but you guys were actually like 600 tickets ahead in a game round where, it's such a slow burn. There's the jet coming in, by the way, look. Look at the jet, it landed right on us. How did we survive? I don't even know. And then we noticed that the guy was not even dead. He's like right here. And Jake had to go sort him out, deal with him. He's just panicking. We're like, no, I can't die now, no. We managed to survive. Look at this, fuselage landed right on top of Billy here. How did we survive? God knows. But yeah, the other team were basically just getting so frustrated with the fact that we trapped them back on this position. But I mean, I don't like spawn trapping games, okay? I really don't. But, if you're in a situation where you're 600 tickets ahead, you let it get turned around on you and then you can't even break out from that situation. I'm sorry, but you know, at that point you kind of have to say. And also look at we're still trying to pull back a kind of deficit here, and we're still trying to win the game. There's not much we can do about it. Here's some more javelin kills. Kill, 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 javelin, javelin, javelin. This is a great one coming up right here. Love this kill. The Jeep coming in. Bam! Down it goes. The momentum of that Jeep as well. Awesomeness. Really, really good. We were just kind of having some fun at this point as well. It was just getting really funny for us, the fact that we were so excited about the fact that we'd managed to turn the game around. But even then, look, you know, see, this is the point, is that the other team, in many ways, they seem to have had this kind of almost sitting back attitude up to that point. So even when they actually started capping bases like here, their team weren't spawning in enough. So there'd be like 1 or 2 guys who are like proactively trying to cap the base. This is the trouble with public games, like we say. You know, if you're lucky and you have a couple of guys on the team, but even then, like me going back to defend, it doesn't always work out. Sometimes it just doesn't go your way, and you get a knife through the back of the throat. It just sucks. But here we go anyway, we're back on B, cleared that out, secured the location, and I was under fire here. Some of their tanks had kind of zeroed in on us and we were taking fire. I took a few hits back there and I was trying to move forward, I still wanted to maintain this line, I still wanted to be able to cover the front area because that's basically what I've been doing the whole round. Got the safe flam up there as well. And so I'm moving up here, being real careful. They've got a few vehicles kind of in the area coming down the main road, so I was trying to get in a position here where I could kind of cover, look for targets and just mark. There's a couple of guys behind me, but B is basically in my control at the current time. Some of the other guys kind of moving around slightly off to the right hand side. But then I see these guys up here, another MBT kind of coming in. And you don't necessarily need a SOFLAM lock to be able to get on these targets, provided the missile can fly straight through. And I got 1 hit on there. And he's just sticking his head out a little bit too much here. How they weren't entirely aware, I mean, I would have thought that tank could have backed away, but apparently not. Because there we go, disabled and down. But this was one of these rounds to me that just kind of reminds and highlights you the fact that even when everything seems totally lost, you can actually pull it back. Not always, but you can pull it back, and that's one of the best things. It's one of the best feelings in the game. That's where the best rounds come from. You guys remember my locker turnaround as well that we had a little while back. That was awesome. The metro round we turned around, that was great. And look at what the engineer's carrying here. Oh, is that a javelin I see? There's people using the javelins. It's always amazing when that happens in game. But here we are, look, they start making a last minute crazy push down the road. I think I take a big hit here, but yeah, they were trying to make a last minute dash, but it was never going to happen, was it? Game over, guys. Game over. So that was this round. Really enjoyed it. I hope you will want to watch the live com as well. As I say, it is an hour, but we are live coming throughout. It's a good, fun round to have. Really, really enjoyed this round. It was fantastic to have these and turn it in. You know, had some real bad games in the last few weeks. Had some bad streams where we kind of really struggled to get to grips with any kind of public game. But you know what? Sometimes it's actually worth coming back to games once they have, you know, passed the release of the next game, because a lot of the sort of best players or more dedicated players tend to stick with the older titles. So you might want to consider just trying that out for yourself. Have a little look back to Battlefield 3, see what games you can get, see how they differ to Battlefield 4 in terms of the public player quality and how those rounds can go down.